Also, the latest numbers are in for Obamacare, and they contain stunning information on exactly who is signing up. And our latest user's guide to a new year and a new you. We've got the steps you can take today to secure your financial future. We're watching out for you tonight on The Willis Report.
Out tonight, our very first breakdown of the broken Obamacare system. Health and Human Services this afternoon releasing data of who signed up for health insurance so far, and guess what? It's not the young and the healthy. And the majority of the new enrollees have a hand in Uncle Sam's pocket. With more on this, Doug Holtz-Eakin, president for American Action Forum. Doug, always great to have you on the show. So 24%, they have a conference call this afternoon, announced some numbers. 24% of the enrollees so far are between the ages of 18 and 24. Not what they wanted.
Yeah, it's actually 18 to 34. They needed to get 40% in that range, and so they're well behind that target. And I will point out that the focus has been on the young invincibles who will have to buy insurance. The numbers they released today include those who are, say, 18, 22, who are on their parents' policies. So they're probably even further behind than the numbers would appear. This is bad news for the system.
Well, and the other big number that I think people are paying a lot of attention to, 79% of the enrollees so far are going to get some kind of government subsidy to pay for that health care coverage. This is going to be a very expensive program at the end of the day. We know $1 trillion is slated to make it go, but I think it's going to need a lot more than that.
Well, the numbers come from two sources. First, the total number of enrollees, and they're behind schedule. They have 2.2 million enrolled. At this point, HHS thought they'd have 3.2 million. They're quite unlikely to hit their target of 7 million by the end of March. However, for each person enrolled, it looks like the costs are going to be above what everyone expected. What the net will be, we don't know, but this is an expensive program either way.
Absolutely. And here are the numbers. 2.1 million people enrolled, 31% along the way to their 7 million. You can see how far they have to go. Doug, does that mean you think they'll make it by March 31st to 7 million?
I don't see any conceivable way they'll make it. They've got two problems. One, they've got a bad policy that people are not interested in buying, and they've had the website problems, and those apparently are not really improving. There might be a better user experience, but in terms of data getting to the insurance companies, they still have significant problems. So we have no idea really how many people have successfully signed up, paid a premium, and are getting the coverage they expected.
Well, that's what's so interesting. That's part of this whole system that's not unveiled to the public, is how that back end is working. And the only way you really know about it is that the insurers are complaining in the background to reporters saying, you know, we're not really getting accurate data at the end of the day. Let me ask you this. On Friday, we had on the show one of these Obamacare orphans. Now, this is a woman who tried desperately to get coverage. She did everything right. She was trying to sign up the day the program was offered. She asked for help in signing up. She sent a check for coverage. It has not been cashed. I want you to hear her story from here. Here she is.
I just feel a bit disappointed because I grew up in an era that you had trust in your president and trust in your government. And, you know, it just seems to not be playing out that way. Another thing I'd just like to bring up is my doctors have informed me that they are not accepting Empire Blue Cross Blue Shield signed up for through the Affordable Care Act. It's almost as if, you know, I purchased a phony designer handbag. It's not the real thing.
It's as if I purchased a phony designer handbag. Let me tell you, this woman's on fire, and I don't think she's the only one. What's going to happen to these people? They think, you know, they've tried to get coverage. They can't get coverage. Her old policy was canceled.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to see a variety of problems. So some people will actually get a policy, and then they'll find out that the providers they can see are very limited. The hospitals they can go to are very limited, and so they'll be upset about losing their doctor. Some people will have tried to sign up for a policy and be unsuccessful, and they'll show up and have the doctor say, look, I can't see you because I have no idea if that's really insurance. And at the other end, we have insurance companies getting bills from providers for people who they think have insurance through that company, and the company has no idea. And the administration is basically saying, oh, please pay that. Even if you've never received a premium, you don't know who that person is, just pay that bill. So there's going to be disappointment all around.
I don't think I've ever heard a sitting president say, ignore the law, because we need you to do something else for a few days or a few weeks or until I tell you to do something different. To me, that's really shocking. How do you react to that?
I think it's just amazing. You know, certainly we've seen all along with Obamacare that there has been nothing the administration was unwilling to delay or defer, waive to keep it going. But when they actually said, you know, for these people, we're going to get rid of the individual mandate because their policy got canceled. For another uninsured person, they have the mandate. For everyone else, they have the mandate. It makes no sense. People on the left and the right are comparably baffled by what they're thinking, and it really stretches the bounds of credulity to think that the president can or should do this.
I agree. I want you to respond to something that Robert Lizewski put out on his blog. And we've talked a lot about what's going on with insurers. On the one hand, there's a smackdown going on, the government making the insurers do everything they want. On the other side, Lizewski points out this, that there is a big part of the coverage that insurers aren't going to be on the hook for. The federal government will, and the American taxpayer. Here's how he describes it, that insurers will be on the hook for up to $45,000, and from $45,000 to $250,000 or $200,000, he says, the American taxpayer will pay 4/5 of whatever that bill is. So if you were somebody who wanted coverage, couldn't get coverage, maybe you had a pre-existing condition, this is, I think, how they got these insurers to sign up.
There's a lot of confusion about these provisions. There's one provision, the one that he's talking about, which is called reinsurance. It's about individuals, and for costs above the $65,000, the insurer picks up 20%, the government picks up 80%, but importantly, that program is financed by a fee paid by everybody participating. So every insurance company, every labor union, all the brouhaha about this is about financing this. Yeah, it's a tax, so it's a dedicated tax. There's a second provision called risk corridors that applies to a plan as a whole. And if the plan comes in more expensive than expected, then the insurer's on the hook for 25% and the government's on the hook for the remaining 75%. A lot of people have labeled that a bailout, and I think that's not quite right. A bailout is when you screw up and the government makes you whole. This is a situation where the policy is bad and the execution is worse, and the government has screwed up, and the insurance company still has to pick up 25% of that cost. So whatever labels you want to attach to it, this is a very big, expensive program.
Well, and you could look at it this way. Those insurers, the risk corridor, I hate that phrase, but the upshot of that is, hey, if you thought you were in a private industry, forget about it, you're not. You have so much headroom you can make, and if you're below that, if you lose money, we're going to make you good at some level. So, I mean, you know, we used to have a private healthcare insurance market in this country. I don't think we do anymore.
This is certainly a big step away from a private insurance market, and as you point out, you know, these are tight provisions. They have allowances for what are acceptable overhead, acceptable profits, and, you know, it is a regulated industry. And if you got rid of these risk corridors, then the insurance companies would simply leave the exchanges, and we'd end up with a big government program, which is a step to single payer. So we are in a very, very bad place from the point of view of policy in the Obamacare setup.
Well, Doug, you and I have talked about this a lot, and that's usually the conclusion we come to. Thanks for being on the show. Hey, happy 2014. Haven't seen you in a while. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.